I've waited as long as I could, but I can't wait any longer. I'm officially panicking about Texas's offensive line, and I'll tell you why. Coming up on Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're Locked On to the Texas Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, BK, Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you, everydayers, for making Locked On Longhorns your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well, so please subscribe. And as always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving a comment. So thank you all sincerely for that. The three players that the Longhorns lost to the portal that I'm going to miss the most, plus a recap of Texas's hard-fought loss to Kentucky in basketball last night. We'll get to those segments a little bit later. But first, I've preached patience, and I always try to practice what I preach. But my patience has worn thin. I am officially worried about the 2026 Texas offensive line. I no longer have faith that Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood are going to be able to land another impact O-lineman from the transfer portal. For dang near the entirety of this portal window, I've tried to maintain a high level of positivity, and I've tried to encourage others to do the same. After all, there was a group of Longhorn fans who were a little upset, a group of Longhorn fans who pressed the panic button early on following the large number of departures we saw in the first few days in the portal. Well, that group was made to look a little foolish after Texas added Raleek Brown, then Rasheem Biles, then Cam Coleman, then Hollywood Smothers, all in the span of 4 days. I think we all kind of learned that, hey, maybe we shouldn't overreact to the first few days of the portal because, well, they're just that, the first few days of the portal. Well, now we're 20 days in. So I don't think this qualifies as an overreaction anymore. I think it's very rational for Texas fans to be worried that the Texas offensive line is what it is at this point, and that there won't be any more plug-and-play starters coming to Austin, Texas. Heck, there might not be any more offensive linemen at all coming along this offseason. Now, before I go any further, I'm hoping, borderline praying, that this segment ends up on Freezing Cold Takes in a couple of days. I would love for y'all to come back to this episode and call me an idiot, because more than anything else, I'm a Texas fan. So I am happy to be wrong at the expense of my favorite team doing what's right. I hope I'm doing a segment later this week talking about Indiana's Bray Lynch committing and signing with the Longhorns. That would be incredible. Hey, considering Indiana and Miami players have until the 24th to enter the transfer portal, there's still technically a chance that that happens. But back to reality, I haven't heard anything about that being more than just a pipe dream at this point. And it's not just Bray Lynch. I have not heard a single name that has been linked to Texas on the offensive line in the last few days, right? I mean, I've talked to a few different people, and I've scavenged the insider sites just to make sure that my people aren't missing anything. So far, no dice. Again, not only not a peep about Bray Lynch, but not a peep about anybody that Texas is going after. And it's just been a lot of swings and misses for Texas on the offensive line in the portal. They've been linked to guys. They've been mentioned with guys. They've been rumored to be in on guys. But ultimately, way more often than not, no guy. Let's run down the list here. This is not going to be a fun exercise. Some of the names on the offensive line that have at least been mentioned with Texas so far during this portal cycle. You had Andrew Sprague and Jake Winera, the first two targets for Texas. The Michigan transfers decided to withdraw from the portal, return to Michigan. Missed out on both of them. Joe Brunner, the Wisconsin transfer, ends up at Indiana. Jacarius Peak, NC State transfer on the offensive line, goes to South Carolina. Jordan Church, Louisville transfer, interior guy, goes to Texas Tech. Alou Ba, a name we talked about, went from Maryland to LSU. And then, of course, Jordan Seaton, a name that this show and a bunch of other shows have been spending a lot of time talking about over the last week and change. Not coming to Texas. Still TBD on where he ends up, but we know Texas is out of the picture. So that's 7 names right there. And again, Texas was mentioned to and none of them ended up in this transfer portal class. Now, the Horns have not been completely skunked. They got Melvin Ciani from Wake Forest, Dailyn Swain from Oregon State, and Jonte Newman from A&M. So they have added 3 offensive linemen. It hasn't been a total failure up front. But only one of those guys feels like a real win. Like Dailyn Swain got benched midway through the year at Oregon State. Oregon State went 2-10. And I call them a homeless team because they're in the Pac-2, right? Their conference disappeared right in front of their eyes, and they got left behind. Jonte Newman, he appeared in 1 game for Texas A&M this year, redshirted as a freshman. Could they be good? Sure. But have they proven to be good enough to compete at a high level in the SEC on a team that has aspirations of winning a national championship? They have not. All of the talk surrounding this offseason has been about winning now. I don't know if Dailyn Swain or Jonte Newman help you win now. It feels like Texas has landed one of their top 7, maybe 8, maybe 9 choices on the offensive line. Not a great shooting percentage. Kind of like Texas shooting threes against Kentucky last night. Not very good. Don't get me wrong. Melvin Ciani's a great get. I love that pickup. Top 3 offensive linemen in the portal, according to 24/7 Sports. Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood deserve credit for that pickup. Great player. Only allowed 9 pressures, didn't allow a single sack for the Demon Deacons in 2025. But I think all of us, myself included, we're looking for 2, preferably 3 starting caliber offensive linemen in this portal window. Texas has 1. They've got 1. I mean, this team, this coaching staff, this fan base, all of us, we've known since like week 5 of the 2025 season that the Longhorns needed some serious help on the offensive line. That Florida game was an unmitigated disaster. And that wasn't the only one, right? There were a few more of those abysmal O-line performances littered across the entire season. And here we are at the 11th hour with the clock seemingly approaching midnight, and the Horns still haven't done enough to address it. Easy for me to say. If the season started this Saturday, I think the Texas offensive line would be this from left to right. Trevor Gooseby at left tackle, Dailyn Swain, Connor Robertson, Brandon Baker, Melvin Ciani. With that construction, you have 6 career starts at guard. Dailyn Swain has all 6. Brandon Baker has 0. Of course, started every game for Texas at right tackle this year, but has never played guard at the college level. I don't think he played guard at the high school level either. Not a lot of experience there. I'm not thrilled with that. I don't think that starting 5 is good enough for Texas to win a national championship in 2026. But the depth is an even more grave concern. And your backup tackle, either at left tackle or right tackle, is Andre Kojo. Yes, Kojo was competing for a starting job last year before the season, but he tore his ACL during fall camp. I don't know. Maybe he's still good, but we haven't seen him, so we don't know. And he's coming off a serious knee injury. CJ Baxter, Christian Clark before the bowl game, Derek Williams, those were the Horns who were off of serious knee injuries that they suffered in 2024. All of those guys underwhelmed in 2025. So I don't think you can just bank on Andre Kojo being the same guy he was before having major reconstructive knee surgery. Your backup guards, Jaden Chapman, don't know much about him. I mean, Jonte Newman might be one of your backups. He might be a second teamer on your offensive line. That's a redshirt freshman with 1 career appearance. Backup center, redshirt freshman Jackson Christian, didn't play at all for the Horns in 2025. It's ugly. I mean, the depth chart is not a pretty sight for Texas fans right now. Again, the starting 5, I'm not sure is good enough. But if somebody goes down, I mean, you have 0 margin for error on the offensive line. I can't believe we're here. I cannot believe that we're here because this coaching staff made everything else look so easy. Getting Cam Coleman, getting 2 high-impact running backs who were first-team all-conference last year at their previous stops. Rasheem Biles, Bo Masco, Ian Jaffrard, landing him from Arkansas right away. It felt like Texas's plan came to fruition at every other spot on the roster, which is great, amazing even. That's why they have a top 3 transfer portal class, according to 24/7 Sports. But it's mind-boggling to me that their biggest need is the one that got addressed the least. The least. We'll see. Subject to change. There's still time, but my goodness, we are running out of it. Since they couldn't get it done in the portal, at least as of now, it's on Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood to coach up the guys that they have to make sure they're ready for September. Because the same level of offensive line play we saw in 2025 will not fly in 2026. And if it once again costs Texas a spot in the playoff, it's going to cost somebody, maybe somebody's, their job. Two aspects of college football coaching, recruiting and development. Looks like Texas failed part one. They failed the midterm. They got a final exam. Let's see what that looks like. Hey, with all the lawsuits, all these players against the NCAA, could DJ Campbell sue for another year of eligibility? Just kidding. But not really. I'd feel a lot better about the unit if DJ Campbell could somehow come back for 2026. Wilson Pickett in the midnight hour. That's where we are right now for Texas football. We'll see if something happens. But again, I am hearing nothing right now. And it feels like the Longhorns missed out on their opportunity to make that offensive line significantly better. What say you? Am I overreacting? Do you agree with me? What's your panic level? What's your concern level with the Texas offensive line going into the upcoming season? All right, let's shift gears here. The Longhorns have lost a total of 25 players to the transfer portal. Some of those guys were never going to be major contributors, so they won't be huge losses. But some of them might end up being big losses. My list of the 3 exports the Horns are going to miss the most coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, our friends at TurboTax are making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your life. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a local, trusted expert from start to finish without any stress, without any guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure this stuff out on your own and filling out a bunch of forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert either in person or you can just connect online. They handle everything. W-2, self-employment forms, whatever you have, they're going to fight to get you every single deduction. You can do everything online. You can update in the app, and you're going to get updates in the TurboTax app. This is a total time saver, and you're going to get real peace of mind knowing you're not doing this on your own, and an expert is handling everything for you. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year. All you have to do is file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, welcome back. Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Do not forget about the Locked On Everydayer Club. If you want to catch this show and all of your favorite Locked On shows with 0 ads, all you have to do is become a member to the Locked On Everydayer Club. It's just $5 a month. That's the cost of 1 cup of coffee. Get no ads for an entire month, or you can do $50 a year. It's another great way to support what we're building here on the Locked On Podcast Network, but also a great way to support yourself as well. All right, 25 Texas Longhorns have departed via the transfer portal. And while that sounds like a massive number, there were 7 other teams in the SEC that lost more than Texas. So the Longhorns kind of right in the middle of the pack in the conference when it comes to the amount of players that they lost. They're going to miss some of them. Some of them were never going to be key contributors or play key roles for Texas football, even if they stuck around for a few more seasons. But there are a few guys that I do think Texas will really, really miss. And I've got 3 for this segment. Now, this list is not geared to just 2026. Like, these aren't the most proven guys, the guys who put up the best stats while they were playing in Austin. These are guys that I think at some point down the line, could have been 2026, but maybe 27 or 28, guys that I think the Longhorns are going to regret letting walk, guys that I think can go to another school and make an impact potentially for years to come. First on my list of the transfer I'm going to miss the most, Christian Clark, the running back. Didn't see a ton from him during the regular season, but he looked really good in the Longhorns' 2-touchdown Cheez-It Citrus Bowl victory over Michigan. 20 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown in his lone start in 2025. Was making guys miss, was showing some breakaway speed, kind of gave the Texas running game an element that they didn't really have consistently during the regular season. I mean, Christian Clark forced 7 missed tackles in that game alone. Trey Wisner and CJ Baxter, Those two guys combined missed 37 tackles for the entire year. Christian Clark by himself missed 7 or forced 7 missed tackles in just one game. High 4-star recruit coming out of high school. Tashard Choice, Texas's former running backs coach who recruited and got Christian Clark to sign to Texas. He actually compared him to Bijan Robinson and said he had some Bijan-like traits, which got everybody excited. Like, oh my God, we just saw what Bijan did. Now we're about to have another one of those, or at least something close to that on campus. I was pumped. We were all pumped to see what Christian Clark could be. Obviously, the torn Achilles during fall camp going into his freshman year, that was a setback, had to miss all of 2024, was definitely not 100% early on in 2025. But again, he showed me something in that bowl game. Texas will obviously be fine at running back in 2026 with Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers coming in, but those guys could both be gone after next year. I get it. Texas has Derek Cooper. They've got James Simon. They can hit the portal again next offseason if they want, but I feel like Christian Clark has some juice. I'm going to be paying attention to him at South Carolina. Transferred in the conference. Texas does not play the fake USC this year, but, we keep tabs on the SEC. I keep tabs on my exes, so I will be keeping tabs on Christian Clark. I'm curious to see, as he further distances himself from that Achilles tear, can he become more dynamic and more consistent? I would have loved for him to have stuck around. I understand why he left, but that's a guy that I think Texas fans and, more importantly, the Texas football team could be missing in the future. He's number one. Number two, Nick Brooks, the offensive lineman. We just spent an entire segment talking about the Texas O-line being a major question mark in 2026. And we just spent a bunch of time talking about a severe lack of depth for Texas in that room. 2026 is already a question. You look beyond this upcoming season, it's a whole novel of questions. Trevor Goosby's going to be off to the NFL. Melvin Siani's going to be off to the NFL. Connor Robertson's out of eligibility. Hell, Brandon Baker could go pro if he wanted to. It'd be his third year of college football. But you basically know you're losing 3/5 of your offensive line. And you could argue those are the 3 best players on your offensive line. So that group is going to be a major question mark, and Texas just has not recruited well enough out of high school or in the portal to feel super great about what that's going to look like. I know Nick Brooks had a really rough freshman year. He was horrible when thrown into action. That Florida game that we talked about in segment 1 was a nightmare for Nick Brooks. He did not look ready to play at all. But Nick Brooks was recruited as a tackle. Texas had him playing left guard, and he's a true freshman playing on the road in the SEC. Not a great situation. I don't know how many guys would thrive under those types of circumstances. High 4-star recruit. He ended up transferring to Alabama. You got to be good for Alabama to want to take a shot at you out of the transfer portal, right? Some of these guys who left ended up going to SFA or North Texas or, G5 schools. They clearly took a step down. Nick Brooks going to Alabama. You get interest from there. That means people still believe in you. And again, I don't think Nick Brooks is a 2026 guy. I don't think he would have been if he stuck around. But I do think 2027 and maybe 2028, he could end up being a really good offensive lineman in this conference. I would have loved for him to have toughed it out at Texas, but he is gone. So that's number 2. And then number 3, last but not least, the 3 transfers that I'm going to miss the most. Bo Barnes, the linebacker, another guy who crushed his opportunity that he got against Michigan. Obviously, the Longhorns had a bunch of players opt out of the bowl game. So Bo Barnes was kind of forced into the fire. Did a fantastic job. 4 tackles and a sack in that game. Bo Barnes was a top 50 recruit nationally in the class of 2025 coming out of the DFW area, Skyline High School. Really, really good player and a ton of potential. This is another scenario like Texas did such a good job in the portal at this spot after all the guys that they lost to where, okay, they're going to be fine there in 2026. But Rasheem Biles and Justin Cryer, 2 big transfers, are out of eligibility after this year. Brad Spence, out of eligibility after this year. Anthony Smith could go pro. So you're thinking about what that room's going to look like beyond this season. And again, you can hit the portal every year. I understand that. But having Bo Barnes here, like him and Tyler Atkinson together as the future of that linebacker room, that would have been so much fun. You would have felt so good about that spot for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. Probably not 4 years. I don't think Tyler Atkinson's a 4-year player, but that would have been nice having Bo Barnes. I think he's going to be a really good player. Ended up going to Kentucky. They've had a tremendous portal season. I think Bo Barnes is going to get the chance to play under former Lake Travis High School offensive coordinator Will Stein, the new head coach in Lexington. I think Bo Barnes is going to be a very good player. And again, would have loved him to stick around Austin. So those are my three: Christian Clark, Nick Brooks, Bo Barnes. No disrespect to the other guys at all. And again, I get it. There are other guys with more skins on the wall, more stats, more guys who may put up better numbers on their respective teams this season. But over time, I think those are the guys that Texas is going to miss the most. Did I say no disrespect to the other guys? No disrespect to everyone except the guy who went to Oklahoma. I can disrespect him. That's how it works. All right, there you go. Your thoughts. Would love to hear from you. Comment below if you're tuned in on YouTube. Which transfers do you think Texas will end up missing the most? One segment to go on a Thursday show. Don't mind if I talk a little Texas basketball? The Longhorns put up a fight last night, but ultimately it was not enough. My biggest takeaways from last night's tilt against Kentucky. Do we accept moral victories on this show? We'll get to it next on Locked On Longhorns. The answer is no. We do not accept moral victories here on Locked On Longhorns. But hey, if you or your cousin had Texas plus 8.5 on FanDuel last night, that's a real victory. That's not a moral victory. That means you got some money in your pocket thanks to the Longhorns covering at Rupp Arena. But ultimately, Texas came up short against Big Blue Nation. 85-80, the final score. Pretty entertaining game. Tied at 40 at halftime. Back and forth. Both teams playing hard. The second half, not so great. Kentucky opened up the second 20 on a 6-0 run. It felt like deja vu, right? With the way the A&M game went on Saturday, that game was tied at halftime. The Aggies opened up a 10-point lead early in the second half, and all of a sudden the game was basically over. I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go again. The Cats got off to a great start, but Texas this time got up off the mat. They pushed back. They actually took a lead 51-50. And this was a 1-point game kind of midway through the second half. Kentucky went on another big run. This one 14-4, pushed the lead to double digits. The kid Colin Chandler, looking like the sixth Backstreet Boy, had a tremendous second half for Kentucky. Didn't help that Texas left him wide open for a couple of threes. But that guy was making all sorts of things happen as a spark, an unexpected spark for the Wildcats. He looked great. Texas had a couple of possessions that ended in goose eggs. And Texas never led the rest of the way. Now, they had their chances. They fought hard. They clawed back in. It looked like it was over. And there were times where I felt like Texas was dead in the water and they were going to completely check out and we're on to Georgia. They fought back. They made this a 3-point game with about a minute and a half left. And then this is what really hurt last night. This is why, I don't think you should ever take a moral victory at a place like Texas, but this is why you can't be really thrilled with the way this game ended. Kentucky did not make a basket for the last 6 minutes. Seriously, they were held without a field goal for the last 6 minutes of this game, and they still won. Why? Because Texas couldn't defend without fouling. They just kept sending UK to the free throw line over and over again. You had a couple of brutal, just dumb I didn't even think the refs were that bad. Like, maybe there's a call or two that you can criticize. It's like, come on, refs, you got that one wrong. But more of it was, no, Texas literally being dumb, just fouling when they weren't supposed to be fouling. Kentucky shot 35 free throws. Texas, one of the best free throw shooting teams in America, at least in terms of getting to the line. The percentage, not always great. Getting to the line, they're right up there with the elites in the sports. Kentucky shot 35 free throws. Texas shot 20. Texas went 18 of 20, by the way. Great clip. Problem is, Kentucky made 30 free throws. They were plus 12 at the charity stripe. Texas lost by 5. Yeah, do the math. That was brutal. Again, when Texas cut it to 3 with like 90 seconds left, Tremont Mark, a sixth-year senior, inexplicably dumb foul. 50 feet away from the hoop. Texas was applying a little pressure on defense, which is fine. You could do that, but you can't foul. And you should be able to trust a sixth-year player to not do that in that situation. Sean Miller was about to blow a fuse after that one. But that's okay. Kentucky missed one of those free throws. Texas gets the ball back. They score. They cut it to 2 all of a sudden. And then Texas is playing a great defensive possession. Kentucky, the shot clock's running down. Aberdeen, shot fake. Modest bites. He jumps. Aberdeen jumps right into him. draws the foul with 1.5 seconds on the shot clock. They defended that possession so well. All they had to do was get a stop, get a rebound, and they got a chance to tie the game or take a lead with the three. Instead, Aberdeen hits both free throws, makes it a 4-point game with 27 seconds left. Jordan Pope misses a three, and that was pretty much all she wrote. Kentucky went the last 6 minutes without a field goal. That's the great news for Texas. But because they let Kentucky make so many free throws, they lost. They lost the game, and you can't feel that good about it. Tough. You know what else was tough? Texas shooting 2 for 18 from three. A minor miracle that they still scored 80 points and that they played a decent Kentucky team this close on the road in one of the toughest places to win in the sport. 2 of 18 from three. You don't need me to tell you that's not a good recipe for success. Jordan Pope, I'm learning as this year goes along. This team goes as Jordan Pope goes. 9 points last night. 2 of 9 shooting, 0 for 6 from three, 0 assists. That's your starting point guard right there. Not good enough to win games on the road in this league. You need more for that. That just can't happen. Jordan Pope's a senior. He's been around long enough. He cannot have nights like that. It's too important to this team. Simeon Wilcher, just rough. Cam Heide dealing with the flu, barely playing. Well, that was not good for Texas either. It sucks to waste such a great performance by Dailyn Swain. 29 points. He was fantastic. I mean, he's an NBA player. And we saw that. 10 of 16. Made a couple of threes. His first threes made since January 6th. He went 2 of 6 from three, 7 of 7 from the line, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He's one of 2 players in college basketball that leads their team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. The other one's Cameron Boozer from Duke. Duke's amazing. Cam Boozer's going to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. Dailyn Swain, he is do it all. Which kind of shows you that Texas just isn't really good enough. They're not on Duke's level, but it shows you that Dailyn Swain is something pretty special. Love having him here. What a game by him. Some of the moves that he made, some of the finishes. I mean, the English that he put on some of those layups high off the glass, crazy. His one-on-one ability is fantastic. Spin moves off the dribble to get open. He got some clean looks, man. This team fought hard. Again, they fought hard. They had chances to mail it in, but ultimately it wasn't enough. We talked about it, I think, on yesterday's show. Texas was Joe Lunardi's last team in his projected tournament field going into this game. I don't think we'll get a bracket from Joey Brackets before Saturday, but you would have to assume that Texas right now is on the outside looking in. 12 games to go in the regular season. Big one on Saturday. You don't want 0-2 weeks any week. You never want those. Those are killer, especially when you're on the bubble like Texas is. Number 22, Georgia coming to town. Solid team, but you get it at home. Not a must win, but boy, it would be nice to bounce back with a home W. You don't want this this losing streak to hit 3. That's what would happen if the Longhorns fall to the Dogs. Need some revenge. Need to avenge some football losses. Let's get this one done on the hardwood, please. So there you go. Texas, again, close, but no cigar. They fall to Kentucky, 85-80. Texas now 2-4 in SEC play, by the way. All right. I hate to end on a low. I usually like to end on a high here on Locked On Longhorns, but couldn't do it. Texas covered. There's your high. Congratulations if you bet on the Horns. That'll do it for the end. That'll do it for this episode. I got to get out of here. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, number one, God bless you. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, rate 5 stars, all of those things. Can't thank y'all enough for your continued support of Locked On Longhorns, and be sure to tell a Texas fan friend to tune in to this show as well. For your next listen, check out Locked On SEC. My man Chris Gordy has you covered. Everything you need to know surrounding the entire Southeastern Conference, football, basketball, baseball, it's all there. You can find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. More Texas football conversation coming your way. And if some good news breaks in the portal, we're praying for it. We will have it for you right here on Locked On Longhorns. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.